Is Chaf Zayin. We're going to start at the top of Chaf Zayin at the Mishnah. So we're continuing to explore the various situations about how the get is being given and the circumstances surrounding it. Maybe get. So you have like a shaliach that is actually going to be bringing the get from the husband to the wife. The avar himenu, he lost it. It's like, he was like, busy not looking, and he had put it in a bag and it just fell off. Matzo lealter kasher. So if he finds it like really shortly after he thinks that he has lost it, then we're okay. There's no problem whatsoever. The imlav pasul. But then if there's like a certain amount of time that is actually goes by until he can find it, then it's an issue and we consider that it's not kasher. Matz'o bechafisa or bidlus kama. So if he finds it in like one of two different kelim that are called chafisa and delus kema, which I think it's like, one of them is a bag, one of them is like a box. Imakiro, if there's like a recognizable sign that this is the get that he was transporting, then he's okay. And so it's kasher. So the bag itself that is actually carrying the get has to have some kind of siman on it that he can tell that this is his bag. So for example, it has like, his initial, like whatever the initials are, right? But if it's like a bag that like anyone can be carrying around and there's no recognizable sign, then we don't consider that it's kasher. So we're going to have like a number of like explanations. We're going to contrast like this Mishnah with a Mishnah in Baba Metzia. And we're going to have like different ways of looking at what is happening here. Urminehu. So you see like, in between this Mishnah that we just read and the Mishnah that is in Baba Metzia, what is the contradiction in between the two? Matzah Gittin nashim. So someone finds like a get specifically for women. Why are we actually specifying Gittin nashim? Is because a get actually is a very broad term that can be used for a different kind of shtar, a different kind of document. So it could be a loan document or it can be other things, right? Okay, so Gittin nashim u shechirure avadim, or like a document that shows that like, you are freeing your slave, dit kiti, or like a will that has been written by someone who's on the article of death, matanot, some kind of document that says I'm gifting Reuven like $2,000, ushovrin, or some kind of a receipt that can be for like many different things. It could be for like a payment of a loan, or it can be actually for like having written a get or received a get or something like that. Hareze lo yachazir. So if like anyone finds any of these specific documents, they should not be returning them. She'ani omer, why is that? Ktuvim hayu ve'nimlach alehen shelo litnan. So this is like documents that but in between the time that they were written and the time that they were actually given or they were found, if they were lost, maybe the person who has prepared them has decided that like, he changed his mind and he's not going to like, he's going to decide that he's not going to be giving them to the person that it was intended to. To note, like when we say nimlach alehem shelo litnan, right? It's like when we say that we don't, it's like it always means that they have changed their mind. Okay, so what is it that we can actually get out of this? Ha-amartanu notnin. It's like if we said, okay, specifically this is like from Abraham to give a get to Sarah, then we're going to be like, we would specifically give to them. Good morning, Stan. We are 3 lines down on 27 on Amud Aleph.
Thank you.
Okay. ואפילו לזמן מרובה. And if it's like, if those documents, like we didn't know where they were, and we're finding them a long time after, then it's still okay to actually give them back. So it's like, how is it possible that we should be saying this? Because our Mishnah that we just read before specifically says that you can only give back like the document if it has been found immediately, le'alter, right? So here we're saying, well, it doesn't really matter if it was found like, at a later point, we're going to, it's still okay to give them. So what is the situation here? Amar Rabba, lo kashya, kan bimkom she'aisha yarut metzuyot. So it's like in like the Mishnah that we're talking about here, you talking about like a get that has been lost, and you cannot be used right away because why? It was found in a place where you have a lot of traffic. So you had like specific places within Eretz Israel or outside of Eretz Israel where there was a lot of caravans, there were a lot of people that were going around, that were traveling. And so what is the concern is that you're going to find a document that said Avraham is giving a get to Sarah. And how many Avrahams and Sarah are there? There's plenty of them. So we're concerned that actually it's not written Lishma specifically for that woman, but it could have applied to someone else. Kan, in the other Mishnah, the one that we're talking about, Baba Metzia, Bimkom she'en ashayarot mitzuyot, this is like a place where actually there's not a lot of traffic. So we're not concerned that we're going to find two people or two couples that are going to have the same name. And so it's not of concern that it's not found, that the document is not found right away. ואפילו במקום שהעיירות מצויות, it's like if you find the get like in a place like where there's like lots of traffic, lots of caravans going like around, והוא שהוחזקו שני יוסף בן שמעון בעיר אחת. It's like, that's exactly what Rabbi was concerned with. It's like, we have two people that have the same name, Yosef ben Shimon, and that they all live like in the same, that they both live in the same place, right? Dei lo tema achi, kashya de Rabba ad Rabba. It's like, this is like exactly the situation where you have like the same people who have the same name, who live in the same town, married two women with exactly the same name. And it's like, so you have to see, it's like, why is it that Rabba would say in one of the Mishnayot, it's okay to give it right away. And in the other, it's like, no, it's not. So it's like, there's different levels of concerns here. So let's unpack this. Ahu gita de ishtakach bidina de Rav Huna. So it's like, Rav Huna, he was a Gadol Hador, right? And he's actually so he's like, he has his own courthouse. He has like, he gives out all kind of shtarim, the Gittin, whatever it is. So in his own courthouse, he loses one of the Gittin that he had. Ve'ava ketiv ba bishvire mata de al rachis nahara. So it's like a get that was actually written in a place that's called Shviri. I don't know exactly where that was. So it's like, but it's like it's a specific, very specific name. The Amar Rav, you have this guy who shows up and he said, "Hey, I actually have lost a get that was like that Avraham wanted to give to Sarah." The Amar Rav Huna Hoshishin lishne shivire. It's like, we have to be concerned here that you brought us a get from like this place that's called Shviri, but maybe there's more than one town that is called Shviri. And so it is very possible that this get that that I found that is like being given from Avraham to Sarah was not for the Avraham and Sarah that you're thinking about, but it's for another couple named Avraham and Sarah that actually lives in another town that is called Shviri. And so we have to be concerned about like the two things, right? We have to be concerned about the fact that you have people that have the same name. You have to be concerned about the fact that there are towns that have the same name. And above and beyond all of that, you have to be concerned about the fact that people are traveling all the time. And so it's very possible that you could confuse one with the other from the two different towns. So it's like, these are different kinds of simanim. The Amar Lav Rav Chisda le Rabba. So Rav Chisda, he's like one of Rav Huna's students, right? And he's talking to Rabba, and Rabba is also one of Rav Huna's students, but he's a little younger than Rav Chisda. Puk v'ayin ba, it's like, you'd better like, buff up on this specific topic, because what's going to happen is Rav Huna is going to come and he's going to ask us about it. De le urta ba'ela minach Rav Huna. So exactly, Rav Huna is going to come. He's going to ask you questions about this. Nafak dak ve'ashkach. And so this is, Rabba, he went out, he started looking into the topic. Ditnan, and he found a Mishnah, Kol Ma'aseh Bet Din. If you have like, if someone actually finds any kind of document, which is like a document that is being transacted in a courthouse, right? Something that is certified, like a get, a loan, like what we said, a bill of emancipation. Hareze Yachazir. You should actually return it to the person who was actually, who it's supposed to belong to. And this refers to that Mishnah that is in Bava Metzia, that is in contradiction with our own Mishnah, okay? And why is it that we're not concerned? We're not concerned because like, we think that the signatures on those specific documents have been actually certified. And so there's no reason for us to be questioning it like, any longer, and the person can get it back. So how is it that one, like, one Mishnah says one thing, the other Mishnah says something else? Let's see. Veha bedina de Rav Huna. So in the story with like, in the courthouse of Rav Huna, divkom she hayesharot metzuyot dameh. So this is like a place where you have a lot of people that are traveling, right? You have like caravans that are going like back and forth, like from one town to another. Veka pashit yachazir. But it says like, Rabba said, it's like you should actually give it back to the shaliach who said that this is his. So that's not what he said earlier. He said that like in a place where you have a lot of traffic, where you have a lot of people going back and forth, you should actually be concerned that the get that is being found does not belong actually to the shaliach that claims it, that it's actually for another couple. So how are we going to be resolving this, right? It's like Alma. So it's like, it has to be that Rabbi is like, has a very specific way of looking at it. I uchzeku shene Yosef ben Shimon be'ir achat en. He said that like, there's two men that by the name of Yosef ben Shimon that actually both live in the same town, not in two different towns. And that's the real concern, is that the get belongs to the other Yosef ben Shimon. Ve'i lo. It's like, but if we're not sure that this is the case, right? If we don't think that there's two people that are named Yosef and Shimon that would live in the same town, then there's no reason for anyone to be worried about it. So we have like a story. Avad Rabba Uvda be'ahu gita de ishtakach be kitna befu bemdita. So we have like a case, right, where you have like a get that is found in a flax house. So the flax house is like, the place where they actually, process the flax to make it into cotton, right? And we're talking about like a place that is in Pumedita, which is a very specific place. There's no two cities with the name Pumedita. That's to begin with. Ika de amre bedechuta echa de taru kinta. So it's like you have some people that said, okay, this is where the get was found. It was actually like found like in the place where you have like this huge basin where they soak like the flax. The afalgav de hursku. It's like, and even if like, and there's like a second couple that would have like exactly the same names, we would return it still to the one that is claiming it. Because it's like, this is like not a common place where people are actually going. I mean, flax like, smells, and it's like there's only a certain amount of people that work in that business. So there's not a lot of traffic around these kind of places. The Ika de Amre, there's another way of actually looking at it. There's those who are saying what? Bedorta de Mazbene Kitna. It's like actually it was found not in the place where the flax is processed, but where it's actually sold. So like in a marketplace. And in the marketplace, we know that there's a lot of people that actually come. Vehu shelo chuzku. And it's like, if that's the case, then it's very possible that you have another couple, another Avraham and Sarah that would be like around, but we're not really, we don't have any proof of that. And there's like these caravans come and go, and there's a lot of like traffic. But regardless, we're not really like concerned about it because, as we said, it's like, the flax market is not like a place where it's likely that you're going to find two people with the same name. So Rabbi Zera is going to, so what did we have? We had Rabba who actually talked to us about two different Mishnayot, right? And now we have Rabbi Zera who's going to actually try and bring a proof from a Baraita. Now, so we know that like, the Mishnah has like actually a higher level than the Baraita in terms of like how we trust what is being said. So let's see. Rabbi Zera, Rame Matnitin Abaraita. So it's like, he's like, he's going to talk about a Baraita, U Meshane, and he says, this is like, this is what's happening here. Tnan, Amevi get ve'avad hemenu. So you have like a shaliach, an agent who's bringing a get, and he lost it, right? Im matzule alter kasher. If he finds it, like if he like loses, he's like the get and finds it right away within a few minutes, it's kasher. The imlav pasul, and if not, it's not valid, right? This is what the Mishnah that we just learned today is telling us. So the Baraita that he's going to present, Rav Zera, is actually goes against the Mishnah that we learned. Urminehu matza get isha bashuk. You have someone who finds a get in the marketplace, right? It's like, someone was going through it and it's like it fell off of his his bag, and it's like in the middle of the marketplace. Bizman she'aba'al modeh. Okay, so it's like the husband says that he actually in between the time that the husband Abraham decided that he wanted to give a get to his wife Sarah, yachazir leisha, you should actually give it to the woman. And ba'al modeh, if the husband actually says no, I shouldn't give it. I changed my mind. I don't want to give it to her. Lo yachzir la laze velo laze. So why would the woman say, I actually want to get? It's because possibly she actually has not collected her ketubah. So she's going to say, of course I received my get. It's just like, I don't know where it is at this point of time, but I never got my ketubah. But here it's like, in the Gemara that we saw before, she was like really confident because she knows that there's a get that is there to back up her claim. So it's like, why is it that she would actually, she might say something that is not true. She doesn't care because there's like, there's a proof right there. So Rabbi Zera is going to talk to us further about this. Bizman she'ab'al modeh mihat. It's like if the husband said, of course I want to give a get to my wife. I mean, this was my intent all along. Yachazir leisha. You return the to the woman, okay, not to anybody else. Ve'afilu lizman merubeh even if it has been like gone for like a long time. So that doesn't make any sense because the Mishnah that we learned specifically said that you can only return it if it was found right away. But if there's like a long amount of time that is actually has lapsed, then you should not be giving it back. So what is the difference here? U meshane kan bimkom שהישרות מצויות. Here, like again, Rabbi Zera talks about like the place where you have like a lot of caravans, a lot of traffic. And it's like, you would in that place, if like the get fell off from the shaliach's bag, only if he found it right away would he be able to give it. כאן, במקום שאין השיירות מצויות, in the other place, where to the Baraita that Rabbi Zera is talking about, it's a place where there's not a lot of traffic. So it doesn't really matter that there's a lot of time that passes by because it's so unlikely that there's like anybody else that was around and that there was another couple with the same name that we're okay with it. Ika de Amre, and there's other people that are so the Gemara is like going to look at like what Rabbi Zera is saying in two different ways. Vehu shehu's ku. It's like you have like in one of the situations we're talking about a second couple that has exactly the same name, another Avraham and Sarah, right? Hu delo liyahadar. And so in that case, we would say, let's not return the get because we don't know that actually it was written for Avram and Sarah number 1, right? And if it was for Avram and Sarah number 2, then it wouldn't have been written Lishma. V'hayenu de Rabba. So that's the same thing that Rabba was telling us before. Ve'ika de Amre, there's other people that are looking at it in a different way. Af al gav de lo chuzkenu lo lichadar. It's like if they're like, if we don't know for a fact that there's another couple that has exactly the same name, right? And it's like, but even if it's like that, we know that, but it's in a place where there's tons of traffic, then you should not be returning the get. Upliga de Rabba. And so this is how Rabbi Zera is actually explaining his position and is showing the difference in between what he's saying and what Rabbi is saying. So the Mishnah, Rabbi is like, choosing like to ask a question from the Mishnah because the Mishnah is actually has a higher level than the Baraita. So, okay. Bishlema de Rabba lo amar. Rabbi Zera. So we understand why Rabba did not say the same thing that Rabbi Zera did and why he chose the Mishnah instead of the Baraita. Matnitin alimale le'akahushuye. So there's a contradiction in between the two Mishnayot, right? That we mentioned before, our Mishnah and the Mishnah in Bava Metzia, and the Baraita that Rabbi Zera is actually mentioning. Ela Rabbi Zera, my tamalo amar ke Rabba. So why is it that like Rabbi Zera did not follow what Rabba actually said? Because we see that the Baraita is actually in contradiction with our Mishnah, and we shouldn't have like instead of that he could just have said, well, there's a contradiction in between the two Mishnayot. Amar lach. Miktane im amart nu notnin. So the Mishnah that is in Baba Metzia specifically says like that the husband has said to give the get to the wife, ve'afilu lizman meruba, even if there's a long period of time that has actually passed. No, this is not actually what is being said. Dilma I amarta nu notnin. Maybe what it means, it says that under specific circumstances, then kidre kaimalan lealter, meaning if it was found immediately, then it would be okay to give it. And so that's the same that what our Mishnah here in Gittin is saying. Okay, and that's in contradiction with the Baraita that Rabbi Zera is like bringing to us. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar. So you have like other people who are like putting their hat in like the story and see they have their word to say. Kegon de ka'amre edim. So we're talking about a case where you have edim, the ones who actually have signed the get. and say, מעולם לא חתמנו, אלא על גט אחד של יוסף בן שמעון. They come and they say, no, it's like, we never signed on the get for a man that is named Yosef ben Shimon. So it's like, if you have like, if that's the case, then how is it possible that there would be such a get, right? That would mean that there was like another get that was written by a guy, Yosef ben Shimon, for his wife, with edim that have exactly the same name as the first get. So it's like very far-fetched, right? Because like, what is like the possibility of having people that have the same name, couples that have the same name, okay, but also having the edim that have exactly the same name, that's like, so unlikely. We're not really concerned about it. Hi achi, maile memra. So this is like, obvious. Mahu de tema, lechush dilma itrame shama kimsha. So you like, the possibility that you have exactly the same name on one get to the other. Ve'edim ke'edim, and the same edim, both on the first get and on the second get, is like almost impossible. Kamash malan. That shows us that we're not concerned about that possibility whatsoever. So another thing that we're going to talk about is how to recognize it, actually, how to recognize the get, and like say that the person could possibly claim, yeah, of course, this is the one that, that I had. Rav Ashi Amar, Kegon de Ke Amar. So you have like a specific a case where you have like someone who's like trying to find a get. Nekev yeshbo batzad ot plonit. On the side of like the get, next to like the letter dalet, there's a little hole. Okay, it has to be very specific. Dehavale siman muvhak. It has to be like a very specific sign. Right? So it's like, I don't know, it's a hole like in the shape of a triangle, let's say. So it's like, if like the person who's looking for like the lost get is capable of saying, this is exactly the size and the place and the shape of that hole, then, we're going to give it back to him. V'davka betzad ot plonit, if he says like, if it's like next to like a specific letter, the havale siman muvhak, because it's like actually a specific like way of identifying this this mark, then it's he can get it back because there's no issue whatsoever. It's like, he specifically identified the type, the kind, where it is specifically on the get, so that siman is like valid. Aval nekev be'alma lo. If he says, oh, there's a hole somewhere on the get, but he's not capable of saying specifically where and, the shape and the size and whatever it is, then we're not going to believe him. Misafka le simanim. So when we're talking about like simanim, Ravashi, he's like, he's not like 100% with it. I de oraita, I de rabanan. It's like we say that actually simanim are valid only mi de rabanan. So when you have like concerned about like, that there's two Gittin that have been like written for this for couples that have exactly the same name, then we want to make sure that like there's no misunderstanding. So and then that would be deoraita. So then we're saying that the simanim is actually not only, and because we're very concerned, of course, about the fact that if we gave the get to like the wrong person, then the woman would still be an eshet ish. So that makes it like, that elevates it to an deoraita. And so we say that like the simanim are effective deoraita. So that's like, that's a higher level. Rabba Bar Chana. So you have Rabba Bar Chana. He's actually, he was a shaliach himself to deliver a get from a husband to, let's say from Avram to Sarah. Irkas le gita bet midrash. He lost the get inside his own bet midrash. I mean, it's possible. It's like there's like, he has lots of books. He was like he put it like inside one book. He doesn't know where it is. And there's tons of like students that are over there. Amar, isimana, if you want to make sure, like, I'm telling you, please look for this get that I had. I don't know where it is. There's a specific like, siman in there. it li begave. So it's like, I can tell you exactly how it is, like, that you can recognize it. I teviut enai. So it's like, and if you want like a visual recognition, right? It le begave. I'm going to be able to tell you like how to actually like recognize it. Achadrua nihale. So they, after they found it, they returned it to him because he had specifically described it the way that it actually looked, and that the mark, like that siman, specifically was. Amar lo yadana I mishum simana ahadruha. It's like, when they Rabba bar Chana said, it's like, I don't know. It's like, if they actually returned it to me because they were capable. I actually described very well the sign, the siman that was on this get. Vekesavre simanim de oraita, because it's like, we know that like we have established already that like those simanim, they're reliable de oraita. I mishum teviut enav, or whether it is that because it's like, they recognize whatever it is that I described, v'davka tzuva miderabanan, and that would be like, we know that these talmidim are actually talmidim chachamim, right? And aval inish be'alma lo. So what is it that we're talking about here? The Rishonim said that like, everybody had tzviat ayin. Everybody can recognize like, specific thing and can describe like, I don't know, like a picture in their living room or whatever it is, right? But who is it that we can actually trust like to do the right thing? It's Talmidei Chachamim, because they're like, because they learn all the time and they pay attention to very specific details. So they would analyze things extremely carefully, and they would make sure that whatever it is that was described was actually the right thing. The imlav pasul, right? So we're continuing with the Mishnah that said that if the get is not found right away, then it is pasul. Tanu Rabanan, ezehu shelo lealter, right? If it's like, what is it that we're considering to be not right away? So how much time is it that would not be right away? Rabbi Natan Omer, shesha'a kede sheta'avor sheyara vetishre. It would be the same amount of time that it would take for a caravan to have gone like, by and set camp, like wherever it is that they said that that they would stay for the night. That would be the amount of time that would pass if that would establish that the get was not found right away. Rabbi Shimon ben Eleazar Omer, kede sheyehe adam omed veroe, the amount of time for like someone to actually stand up and see that there was nobody else around. Shelo avad sham adam, that there was, okay, so that there was nobody around. Veyesh omrim shelo sha'a adam sham. And there's other people that says that like, it would be the amount of time that a person stands there and he has the time to look around him and he sees that there's no one. Rabbi Omer, kede lichtov et haget. And Rabbi says it's actually the amount of time that it would take to write a get, which could be like, I don't know, in between probably like about a half hour. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer, kede likroto. He says that would be actually the amount of time that it would take to read it. So that would be a much shorter period of time. Acherim omrim kede lichtovo likroto. And others would say that it's like, in the amount of time that is needed to both write it and read it. So when we say acherim, usually we know that we refer to Rav Meir. And what was Rav Meir's job? He was a sofer. So very like, it's not coincidental that he's actually the one that is being mentioned here. The afilu sha'a, and even if like actually the get has been lost for like a nice amount of time and it wasn't found, yesh bo simanim, if like it has very specific distinctive marks, me'idin alav, the people who are like actually coming to claim the get, if they're capable of describing the simanim properly, then that would be sufficient. De amre, נקב יש בו בצד אות פלונית, if there's, let's say, like a small hole on the side, specifically next, let's say, to the letter dalet, right? When the get has been found, then we know specifically that this is the one, even though it has been lost for a certain amount of time, longer than what we have described before. Ve'en me'idin al simane haguf. And there's like other people that say that it's like if it's inside, like if it's inside like the get, then it wouldn't be sufficient. The amre aroch nagut. It's like, depending on whether the get is like long or it's short. If there's like if there's not a lot of like identification, then it wouldn't matter. Matzu kashur bechis be'arnaki beta'abat. So if like you have like the shaliach, we talked about the fact that he found the get inside like he had put the get inside like a money bag or purse that has like very distinctive what identification, right? Like they each had like their names or their initials, or like a signet ring, or shematsu ben kelav, or he found it at home actually in the middle of his kelim, right? So the kelim that we talked about were like those two specific things that are going to be described later. Afilu lizman meruba, even if it was actually lost for a long time, kasher, the get is actually considered to be valid because it was like lost within his own belongings, so he can tell that this is the one that he was looking for. We're gonna stop here. So Rabbi Schwartz will take over tomorrow.
Thank you, Miriam. Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.